Now it's time for Toker Talk Radio, the voice of the marijuana nation.
What are you people? On dope?
Where you can toke.
I inhale frequently.
Or you can talk.
I experimented with marijuana and didn't inhale.
Or you can toke and talk.
10 federal criminal penalties for possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana.
While we talk about toke on Toker Talk Radio.
So, by the way, when it comes to pot, if you're 40 years old, you live in a log cabin in Oregon, you got 12 giant pot plants in your backyard, have a ball.
Live from beautiful Portland, Oregon at Rolla J Studios.
Hey, this is great.
Yes, not cannabis.
Plus your calls live at 971-533-7111.
They're walking on their pants with their cap on backwards, listening to Enema Man and Snoopy Poop Dog.
What's to keep somebody from getting all potted up on weed and then getting behind the wheel? Gateway theory doesn't work. It's a reality.
Holland, is it real? Don't tease me.
We're locking up people that take a couple of puffs of marijuana, and the next thing you know, they got 10 years.
And now, here's your host, the guru of ganja graphics, the sultan of sativa statistics, and the worst nightmare of a reefer mad prohibitionist. A polite, perspicacious, productive pothead with a propensity for PowerPoint. Radical Russ Belville.
Welcome, it's Toker Talk Radio time.
Speaking for the legalization of marijuana.
Awo, 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 awa, awa, sata, ama, sagana, la, la, Gabriel, la, madani, la, me chant, oh, says I fear Babylon. Tell them, say, I'm a true ganja man. No, me no fear Babylon. Tell them, say, I'm a true ganja man. Take a look in Genesis.
So that, of course, is Rocker T, who was the musical guest at the
Granary.
The Granary, our little events party that we just had. And so we get to this event. By the way, Toker Talk Radio, I'm Radical Russ. That's Brian the Red. That's Left Wing Larry.
And that's Ganja Jon.
Oh, my God. And I don't have all the mics hooked up, so what the hell have I done? Ganja Jon's just going to be silent Ganja Jon for now.
We'll hear his torch and nothing else.
That's right. But yeah, we're just chilling, and we got back yesterday from the Oregon Medical Marijuana Business Conference, and when Brian heard that it was going to be Rocker T, he was just kind of, what? Oh, you got to get me into that. I was like, well, yeah, we have the badges, man. We're going to get in. So
I was like, yes.
So here he is. We got this great picture, and I'm trying to get it sized up for the screen. There we go. Great picture, Rocker T, and our own Brian the Red, who's got demon eyes. I didn't take the red eyes out.
Yeah,
so you're literally red eyes.
That's I was saying that's usually appropriate. That's part of the reason I've got the nickname, because ever since I was, little bitty, man, every picture comes out red eye.
Yeah. So there we go. That's Rocker T, who put on a great show. It was just this little pizza parlor bar basement. With low beams too. You had to duck.
Man. It's like the bartenders were short.
yeah, they could only hire people under 5'6". That's how bad it was, right? But so we're doing this.
But it was great.
We're at this place, and there's this little hole in the wall, literally a hole in the wall.
Start off with a bluegrass band.
Oh yeah, they had a bluegrass band there first,
which was pretty good.
Cool. And then there's this hole in the wall kind of thing. It's not like a hole. I mean, it's constructed, right? But you go into it, and there's this whole long padded cubby hole, completely walled off from the bar.
It's like a booth that's enclosed.
Yeah, like an enclosed booth. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, but then there's just this little entrance off to the side, and so we were sitting in there with this one girl who grew up around there. And she was like, "Oh, I remember making out with a guy."
Oh yeah, Stephanie, who we just interviewed.
Was it Stephanie or was it? There was another girl that was in there.
Well, somebody. But anyway, we ended up back there in that cubby hole and just
with about 5 or 6 girls
and 5 or 6 vape pens too.
Yeah, actually, we made it home with a couple.
Did we? Yeah, that's right. We came home with a couple extra.
Home with a few.
So yeah, we vaped the night away. Listened to Rocker T play. It was a lot of fun. A lot of good folks were there. Lee Berger and Paul Loney, and a lot of the great Oregon activists were out. So a good time is had by all. A lot of good information was gotten to everyone as well.
Yeah, it was great networking opportunity. We did a lot of good.
It's a big one. I'm sorry, what's that? Ganja Jon, put
My
your
lungs
pants on,
can't
for
hold
God's
that.
sake.
No, that's a dab.
Oh,
that's
dab.
bigger than the dabs he's used to. So that's a big one.
Ganja John's all dressed up tonight too. He's got the black sport coat. Is that really? You're styling.
That's how we roll. Get John Cam on there.
Let me get a John Cam on you there and see what we can see.
No,
there we go.
There you
Spoiled.
Go. Bam.
But I didn't hook up the mics from the road trip, so he has to be silent for now. But he's hooking up.
You can share my mic.
He's hooking up the dabs though, so that's all good. Hey. So Left Wing Larry, your weekend, how's everything?
Oh, great. Other than a little disappointed. I missed Jimmy Carter.
Oh, what Powell's? Yeah, you went to East Burnside instead of West.
Yeah, I went down. I got caught. I got caught.
Damn it!
For the first time by one of the damn drawbridges.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
I got caught by one this morning.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Yep.
All right. Well,
a little old sailboat went under, and I went, that son of a bitch would have never reached that bridge.
Yeah.
All right, we'll talk more about that. The Medical Marijuana Business Conference also coming up. A video of my presentation there on the results of legalization and the Green Rush 2. So you're listening to Toker Talk Radio on 420radio.org. We will be right back.
The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at radicalruss.com.
When you are starting up a medical cannabis business, you don't just want any attorney. You want a fired-up lawyer who understands the needs of cannabis consumers. The law office of Lauren Vasquez is your fired-up lawyer for the cannabis industry. Lauren Vasquez knows the details of California marijuana law from both a personal and professional angle. Lauren Vasquez rose from the ranks of college normal activist to become one of the Bay Area's best marijuana lawyers. Visit her website, fireduplawyer.com, or call 1-855-MMJ-LAWS for more information. That's 855-665-5297 for Lauren Vasquez, your fired-up lawyer, or email fireduplawyer@gmail.com. The number again is 855-MMJ-LAWS, 855-665-5297 for your fired-up lawyer, Lauren Vasquez. Lauren Vasquez is an activist attorney you can trust. Call today. You can get 420 Radio on the go with our Shoutcast stream for all internet-enabled media players. Go to rad-r.us/420shout or just click the Shoutcast icon below the live radio feed at 420radio.org. Hey, Tokers and Tokettes, Radical Russ here to introduce you to my friend Matt and all the staff at Lush LED Lighting. Growing plants indoors can be a rewarding hobby, but electricity bills can go through the roof. Then you have to cool down all those big hot lights. It can drive a grower insane. With Lush LED lighting, you can solve many of these issues and double your rewards. If you thought LEDs were meet the tech of today, Matt and his scientists have developed the perfect light for flowering plants with far less cost and heat. And the results? Let's just say I appear at a lot of events with the masters of indoor horticulture, and the harvests I saw from Lush LED lighting were big, tight, sticky, and very effective. Check out LushLEDlighting.com right now and tell them Radical Russ sent you. Double your rewards and lower your expenses with Lush LED lighting.
Now this is an emergency service bulletin for room get and bones. Be on the lookout for the man in blue. Wearing a badge, carrying a bone.
Oh, I'm a don't dial 911. Why me don't dial 911? Tell you why me don't dial 911. Mama don't dial 911. Cause if you know dial 911, the policeman come and everybody must go home and then you can't have no fun. Dial 911, the Babylon come and everybody must go home because the party is done. Listen, me people begging no please understand. And I me wish the eyes so this like any other man. But through the Babylon, them in a malfunction. And if you really want the mass, you can't have you gone along? Johnny, you're too bad with your badge and you're gone. Johnny, you're too bad where you gone along? Johnny, you're too bad with your badge and you're gone. If you do keep in a session and no want if you're wrong, make sure the telephone don't dial 911.
More music from Rocker T with the Skadanks.
Yeah, that was the group that one of the groups he started out with down around there in New York. So definitely check out his stuff. He's got a new album I hear he's going to be dropping on the 22nd of April. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
The only thing I'm seeing on this file, though, it says it's 6 seconds long. I can't believe that.
Yeah, and it's also his birthday today.
Does that file say 6 seconds long on your side?
No, it says 42 minutes long. So.
All right. We're trying to get that video for you guys of my presentation.
Okay, well, it says that
I'm getting
it's no longer syncing here, so refresh.
I'll go find you. But anyway, we had such a good time there at the event, and there's going to be another event coming up at the it's going to be in Portland at the Convention Center in September, the second weekend of September. I think it's the 13th and 14th.
Yep, it's a little ways out, but it's going to be the International Marijuana Business Conference.
Yeah,
so it's going to be
damn huge.
It's going to be at the Oregon Convention Center in the Portland room.
Something like that, but it's they're going to bring in all these international level speakers, and it's going to be amazing. And so far, these events have been put on pretty well, I would say.
Yeah, so, I really think that the groups that have been in charge of running these couple events that we've been covering have done quite an exceptional job.
Absolutely. All right, so we're hanging out with Brian the Red. We've also got Left Wing Larry in the house. How you doing, Larry?
I'm doing just great.
Thank you so much. And Ganja Jon's hanging out as well. And you got a new tattoo, Ganja Jon. Have we got that figured out without violating any laws?
Yeah, you already showed it.
Yeah, I can get a picture pulled up on Facebook.
There we go. We'll do that.
I'm wearing a suit. Like, I just got to take off the pants, like, to show it.
There we go. All right, so we'll work on that. Also, wanted to mention, just make personal mention of the latest edition of High Times magazine with Mount Cushmore. Snoop, Be Real, Method Man, and Redman.
June issue, correct?
Where am I?
You're not there yet, dude. June 2014.
Yes.
But page 21, Eyewitness News, my latest article is out. A shill for prohibition. The story of Kevin Sabet going to the Oregon legislature. And here is the quote that I want to add here. The highlight quote from it is... let's see. Why wouldn't we prefer a marijuana industry that creates jobs, pays taxes, and checks IDs to the current arrangement of illegal drug cartels that bribe police, behead their rivals, and have no qualms about selling to minors? So that's the big thing there. And then what I was really happy about this is because yesterday we were in Eugene at that conference, and there was a fundraiser for Senator Floyd Przansky. Mm-hmm. Here in Oregon, Floyd Przansky's the guy, right? He's been a defender of medical marijuana forever. He's really educated on the issue. And so when I went to that thing in January where Kevin Sabet was presenting to that's what I wrote this whole article on, was Kevin Sabet presenting to the Oregon legislature. So I got a chance to speak with Senator Przansky, or Floyd as he prefers to be called, because he's cool like that. So I was talking to Floyd, and I said, I got to thank you. I specifically made a donation to your campaign for the way you stood up to Kevin Sabet when he was presenting, and particularly your quote, which is like the Kevin Sabet money quote of any legislator. It was like a Steve Cohen moment, right? Yeah, it was great. and it's in the article. Oh, so I was so happy that it came out the day after I reminded him of it. And so Sabet had spent the day explaining how he had, quote, no problems with the 50-year-old guy who wants to smoke a joint at home on the weekend, end quote. Przansky then asked, quote, they should be able to do that, but they have to go to the black market, end quote. Incredibly, Sabet replied, quote, yes, the cons of legalization are more than the cons of prohibition. That is the con of prohibition, that you have to go to the underground market, end quote. To get Sabet to so openly and blatantly explain to the world what he was really all about was crystalline. I just was effusive in my praise to Senator Przansky, and he's like, tell you the truth, I had to hold back a little bit.
Bam!
I'm like, oh yeah.
Go Floyd.
All right, so we had a great time there at the event. There's going to be another event, like I said, coming up at the middle of September. We'll keep you posted on that. But for now, we've got our video ready. It's my presentation, Green Rush 2, basically a comparison of medical marijuana dispensary systems and what statistics we have from legalization over the first year in Colorado and Washington. I tailored this presentation to the business folks. It's a business conference, and basically I'm showing them that Kevin Sabet's their enemy. Because it's like he says, he's not so much against the use, he's against the business.
Not just their enemy, he's also an idiot.
He's also an idiot. So I wanted to give him some talking points if they're ever interviewed on the news, or if they're ever there's a newspaper article where they can use these points to rebut these anti-business stands. So here we go. This is the presentation. Enjoy.
One more time, Alex Rogers, man. This is essentially what he's done. His vision, his ability to get shit done, I think is an important thing. I think that's one of the things we forget sometimes in this movement. Everybody's got great ideas, is to be able to follow through on those ideas and to get them done, right? And that's always the hardest part, because we can always sit around and get high and think up shit to do. But actually doing it is sometimes a challenge. I remember. It happens sometimes. I'm apparently the activities director, so there's going to be shuffleboard on the Lido deck at 5 o'clock. No, I'm kidding. But after this conference, from 5 to 7 in this hotel, you can meet Senator Przansky. It's a fundraiser for him. You'll get a chance to press the flesh, to schmooze it up. It's $50 for a single ticket, $75 for a two-person ticket, so you can double team him. Come at them from the left and the right. And it's just a good opportunity to meet your state legislators and get to know those things. And then later tonight, we're having a little mixer and a social party at the Granary, not the Granary, the Granary, Granary. I don't know, we all did good at the spelling bee. That starts at 9 o'clock, and that's up on 5th Street, just 2 blocks away, and that's promoted and produced by the Greener Side. Let's hear it for the Greener Side dispensary out here in Eugene, big sponsor of the conference. And then tomorrow night, if you're around, I'm actually doing a comedy show. You can actually see me tell actual comedy jokes and not just stoned ramblings while I take questions. That's at the Wow Hall tomorrow night at some time. Which I forgot, but I just showed 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock tomorrow night, 7 o'clock at the Wow Hall, which is the Wobbly Hall, which is what happens when you hang out with me. All right, now, coming to the podium. I've known this man 15, 20 years, a tireless advocate for cannabis, not just for medical cannabis, but for full legalization of cannabis. Amazing speaker. He has a radio show. He's the director of 420radio.com and all their platforms and programs. Let's hear it for the one and only Russ Belville, everyone. Russ Belville.
20 years. Not been that long. Hi, my name is Radical Russ Belville. I am the executive director of 420radio.org, which is 24-hour marijuana legalization radio, and it's available on the internet. You can get us through the TuneIn app on your Android or your iPhone, tunein.com if you want to find that on the web, or just 420radio.org. And part of my job is I do a live daily talk radio show at 3 o'clock every day, the Russ Belville Show, where I talk to doctors and scientists and researchers and celebrities and politicians and activists. Really, I feel like we're the NPR of POT. So, if you're looking for some serious discussion of the news and the issues and the interviews, check out 420radio.org. My presentation today is something I've developed at the first conference we did in Ashland, but I've updated it with some new data. I call it Green Rush 2. And I know a lot of you are taking notes out there, but if you'd like, you can download this presentation from 420radio.org. It's on sale now through August 6th, and it comes with hyperlinks to all of the sources. So you can go straight to the source. Don't trust me, look it up. So let's go. This is going to be a look at the different types of recreational and medical systems that are going on. We'll start with medical, because that's really what we're here about here, is starting the medical business here in Oregon. But then we'll take it and take a look at the broader Green Rush, which is the oncoming wave of legalization. So we'll start by talking about, what exactly is this Green Rush. And while lots of states are getting into the marijuana businesses, I think Oregon provides the best opportunity of any of them. I'm going to show you why. First of all, this green rush comes in 4 different phases. It's the introduction of medical marijuana into states that don't have it already. That's one way we can expand. Of course, here in Oregon, the way we can expand, since we've already got medical marijuana, is expansion of access to medical marijuana with our dispensary laws and such. And the development of recreational marijuana will just continue to expand that market, and that is coming in 2014 here in Oregon. And, sometimes overlooked, the reintroduction of the American hemp crop, which has been a staple in this country since 1611. Let's get hemp back into these fields, huh? And the reason Oregon is such fertile ground right now is because we have a really well-established medical marijuana system. And I know those of us inside baseball in this can point to all of the problems and flaws and peccadillos of our particular system, but having gone to other states, especially some of the East Coast medical marijuana states, we've got it really good here. Really good, especially considering a lot of our politicians, like Senator Floyd Przansky, who you can meet later tonight, we got politicians on our side. I went to see my nemesis, Kevin Sabet, speak in front of the Oregon legislature, and as I heard the legislators questioning him, I remarked to a friend next to me, isn't it amazing we got politicians saying things we were writing on protest signs 10 years ago? Yeah, we've come a long way. So we got fertile ground here. And we've recently expanded our medical marijuana program to include post-traumatic stress. I don't add the D on the end. I don't think it's a disorder. But post-traumatic stress, that will expand the number of potential clients, customers, patients that will be in need of medical marijuana. Our retail system that we've got already, they kind of built up on the underground, on the sly, kind of a wink, wink, nudge, nudge, and is now becoming regulated. Everybody seems to be well-intentioned in transferring to this new system. We don't have a lot of the problems of, real shady actors like maybe some of the other states might have had to deal with. And we are likely to pass a recreational law in 2014, if not 1, if not 2, maybe 3 that will pass. So that's going to just expand our markets. And here in Oregon, we have the advantage that hemp is already legal under Oregon law, and the feds now have kind of given a green light to hemp producers to say, go ahead. So I'm expecting, we should have some, farmers planting hemp any day now. Now here's a comparison, a chart I made up, and I won't go over the whole thing, but you can get this if you download my presentation, of what it takes to get into the marijuana business, the dispensary business in the other medical marijuana states. Up along the top here, we have columns for what does your retail license cost and what does your producer license cost. Some states it's one and the same, like you might take Arizona, it's $5,000, but some states have 2 different licenses, like DC, 15 grand, 10 grand. These things with the asterisks are escrow or collateral or liquid assets that you must prove you have. You want to open a dispensary in Connecticut, you got to prove you got $2 million to back it up. Limited number, all these other states have, various limited numbers of dispensaries that can exist, and some states that have explicit bans. Now, we have our moratorium that has just passed, like, oh, we really hate it, but maybe in 2016 we'll like it. I think when they see the tax revenues coming in, they're going to like it a lot better in 2016. So I'm not too worried about our moratoriums right now. I think eventually those will be lifted. It'll just be irresistible to a lot of these cities. And then, of course, we have the number of patients that are in each state. So those folks trying to open a dispensary in Connecticut, trying to pull up 26 grand for the retail, 80 grand for the producer license, and $2 million escrow to fight for 3 to 5 licenses statewide to serve 1,600 people. So we got it pretty good here in Oregon, where we've got 60,000 patients, no limit on the number of dispensaries, only limited by the zoning, right? Can't be within 1,000 feet of each other or schools and all that, but technically, hypothetically speaking, there could be a dispensary in every spot that's 1,000 feet away from every other spot. We don't have a hard limit, and that's really good. And our application fees, $500 and then $3,500 for the $500 is the app and $3,500 for the license. Is that right? That's the lowest I could find other than recreational licenses in Washington State. So, like I said, we got it really good. What Oregon does not have, all those escrow requirements like we saw in Arizona, Nevada, Massachusetts, and Connecticut. We don't have permanent local bans explicitly written into the law, so that's good. We don't have a limited number of dispensaries. Again, Arizona's only going to allow 126, and then from then on, it's like less than 60 in a lot of these states. We have no integration requirements or prohibitions. You can be a producer, processor, retailer. You can be a producer or a processor or a retailer. You can do 2 of this and 2 of those. It doesn't matter. But in other states, they make different requirements. Like you have to be vertically integrated. You have to grow everything you sell. So we don't have those. And I think that's going to bode well for us because then the free market will decide how all of these different interests work with each other. And again, we don't have those expensive, non-refundable fees, but how bad these people in Massachusetts might feel to come up with, tens of thousands of dollars, then just to get a note back to say they were denied, and then they don't get their money back. That's a heck of a bet to have to make. This is a look at the Oregon Medical Marijuana Program statistics for the number of patients that have been in our program. So this is kind of a look at the potential growth of your customer base. As we started, about year 2000, we had about 1,000 patients, but over the span of 2001 to 2011, on average, there was a growth of 44% in the patient rolls every year. That varied from year to year. Some years it didn't go up a whole bunch, but other years it went up a whole bunch. But over the span, about 44% a year. But then once we hit 2012, it slowed down to 16% growth. And then last year, just 6% growth. Any guesses as to why it slowed down? That cost, that's right, they raised the fee to $200. It didn't become worth it enough for a lot of people once we hit that. So we still have that prohibitive cost we're going to have to deal with that will limit somewhat the growth of the patient rolls, but I feel once these dispensaries start opening up, now I've got a reason to spend $200 to get my card. Now I've got a reason. So I think we will see our growth rates return. So I kind of projected for 2014 where we might end up. And the other thing to think of is the post-traumatic stress patients. There's only 50 of them right now that are registered, but as they start getting the word through the veterans communities and the rape survivor communities and the trauma communities that medical marijuana is an option, I think we're going to see a growth in that. So I kind of forecasted what we would have as PTS patients if that were to expand. And if we continued at just 6% growth, we ought to end up with 64,000. 16% growth, 70,000. But if we get back to that 44% growth, we could have 87,000 patients by the end of the year. So those are the people that you will be marketing your wares to, your medicines to, and so forth. Now, to take a look at the makeup of that group of people, one of the things that burns me every time I hear him say it is when some prohibitionist gets on TV and says, well, 90% of the people on medical marijuana are just getting it for pain. Yeah, like pain is, pain, like you're faking it or something, right? They're trying to paint this picture that we're all just, faking it, faking pain that can't be diagnosed. Not only does the American Pain Association say that 26% of the American public suffers from a chronic pain that lasts 24 hours in a month for 12 months long, right? That's their designation. Right? 1 out of 4 people is suffering from chronic pain. It's also a lie. When they say 90% of patients are getting it for pain, they're lying. And here's how they're lying. They're taking this number, how many people got it for pain, and dividing it into how many patients there are. Well, sure, if you do that, you're going to get 94, 95%. What they fail to tell you is you can register for more than one condition. Do you think that cancer causes some pain? Think AIDS causes some pain? Multiple sclerosis is characterized by pain. So really, there are actually 91,000, almost 92,000 conditions being treated. And pain makes up only 65% of those conditions. And if you do the math on it, here is a bar that represents how many pain patients there are, but here's the bar for the spasm patients, the nausea patients, the seizures, the cancer, the AIDS. The least possible pain-only patients is 28,000, only 46% of the registry. So don't let them spread this lie that everybody's getting medical marijuana for pain, because they're not. Less than half of the patients are getting it for just pain. This is something also to keep in mind when you're stocking your strains and the different varieties you want to carry, is to keep in mind it's not overwhelmingly pain patients that want it. There's a whole lot of people who have spastic disorders that need that CBD. With seizure disorders that need that CBD. So keep that in mind as you move forward. So that's a look at medical, but really I think the real green rush happens as we open up the recreational industries. This is just the beginning. And as we open up this recreational, we're going to have prohibitionists trying to spread all sorts of lies and falsehoods to scare people about this stuff. But let's take a look at what Oregon's recreational market holds. Right now, according to the National Surveys on Drug Use and Health, 13.4% of adults in Oregon smoke pot annually. That's 1 out of 8. More than 1 out of 8 adults in Oregon smokes pot every year. 8.8% smoke pot monthly. That's 1 out of 12. Smoke pot monthly. 4.3% smoke pot weekly. That's 1 out of 25. Smokes pot every week. And 1.9%, or about 1 out of 50 Oregonians, smoke marijuana every day.
Hi-oh.
I am your target market, people.
Hi, everybody.
And in fact, 80% of the cannabis consumed is consumed mostly by the weekly and near daily consumers. So as you build your marketing plans, think of that as well, that you're really marketing to a fairly small group that makes up the large percentage of the sales. And when people purchase pot, about 1 out of 3 pot smokers purchase it. That tells me 2 out of 3 are mooching. No, it tells me 2 out of 3 are in the circle or sharing or whatever, right? Of those people that bought pot, 75% of them purchased about an eighth, 20% purchased about a quarter, 5% purchased about a half. Now, it's written in grams, so you can do the math yourself. But again, this shows you that when you are marketing to those people, they're willing to buy small amounts. That's good news for you. You get those markups. And again, like I said, near daily users, people that smoke 21 days or more per month, make up 80% of the use of marijuana in the state of Oregon. Here's a look at the marijuana smokers by age group. And for now, let's just look at the bar graphs. Ages 21 to 25, 26 to 34, 35 to 49, and 50 plus. Marijuana use has gone up in all of those age groups from 2003, which is the red bar, to 2011, which is the green bar. But where it's expanded the most is the 26 to 34-year-old age group. That out-of-college, young adult, just starting a family age group. That surprised me when I looked at it. Because usually it's over here in this 21 to 25 group, those college-age kids, and it did go up. But if you check it, the 2003 pie chart, 21 to 25-year-olds made up 21% of the market. Today, they make up 21% of the market. They really haven't, the use among the young adults hasn't changed that much. But this slice of those 26 to 34s went up from 20% to 29%. The 35 to 49s didn't change much, 33% to 29%. So this, to me, is that slice of people you want to market to. Just out of college, young adults, those are the folks that are going to want to participate. Now, another piece of data that I like to look at is the scare about the kids. You hear this all the time, what about the children? Oh my gosh, we legalized marijuana, what about the children? And my nemesis, Kevin Sabet, likes to say, the average medical marijuana patient in California is a 32-year-old white male. I don't know what white has to do with it, but okay. This is an actual graph from federal statistics, and what it shows you in this darker colored ridge is monthly pot smoking. And in this lighter colored ridge, annual pot smoking. And it's broken down by age. So if I look at people 18 years old, about 17% of them smoke pot this month. And about 30% of them smoke pot this year. In fact, 30% of your marijuana users are under the age of 21. This is how they try to scare parents. Oh, kids are going to use pot. The response to this is, yes, and nobody's checking their ID. That whole group there, nobody's checking their ID. You guys will check their ID. Always point that out when you're making your pitch to people, to councilmen, to whatever. Don't be afraid of the what about the children. Point out that what you're doing is what protects the children. But medical marijuana, all right, let's take a look at what regulation has done. The median age of a pot smoker is 26. That means half the people who smoke pot are younger, half the people who smoke pot are older. The average age of a pot smoker is 29. But the average age of a medical marijuana patient in California is 32, and the average age of a medical marijuana patient in Colorado is 41. So doesn't that mean regulating marijuana moves it more toward the adults and away from the kids? These are the kind of stats you can use. Yes, right. These are the kind of stats that you can use to fight that "what about the children" scare. Now, we've got some initiatives coming up here in Oregon for legalizing recreational use of cannabis. They're over here in the far right columns. Initiative 22, where Octa has already been gathering signatures. Initiative 53, New Approach Oregon, will start just now gathering signatures. And I compared them also to Colorado and Washington. We're going to get a really good legalization no matter which one passes. We're going to beat Washington and Colorado quite easily. Colorado lets you have an ounce in public. Washington lets you have an ounce or 16 ounces of edibles, 72 ounces of liquids. I-22 will give us 1.5 pounds. I-53 will give us an ounce in public, 0.5 pound at home, 16 ounces of edibles, 72 ounces of liquids. We win. Cultivation. Colorado lets you have 3 mature plants. Washington, none. Boo. Oregon, I-22 will let you have 24 plants. I-53, 4 plants per residence. We still win. That's better than that. Licensing. 70% of the producer and retail or infused producer, that is, they have to grow 70% of the inventory they sell. They're vertically integrated. Colorado, or Washington doesn't have that so much. You can be a producer and a processor, or a processor and a retailer, but you can't be all three. So you can't be vertically integrated in Washington. In Oregon, we don't care. You can do all of it or some of it. And in Oregon, I-53, they actually add another level, a wholesaler, and you can do all of it or some of it. More freedom. The fees in Colorado, $250 or $37.50 or $87.50 or $14,000. I'm sorry, $250 plus one of those 3 levels, and they have 3 tiers depending on how much you're going to grow. In Washington, $250 plus a $150 fee. Then we've got or $1,000 fee. Excuse me. I-22 hasn't really determined its fees yet, and I-53 just $1,000 for a commercial fee. Again, we win. Taxation, well, that's pretty easy. We win. $35 an ounce tax for buds, 10 ounce for leaves, $5 for seedlings, versus these massive percentages you get in Colorado or Washington. DUID laws. They have a 5 nanogram inferred, which means you're probably guilty. Washington has a 5 nanogram per se, which means you're guilty. And we're just going to stick with the current law. Because it's not as if legalization invents stoners and cars. We've been here. You already have DUI laws. You've already been busting us with a 90% conviction rate. You don't need a new DUI law. Local bans. Colorado allows them. Washington, it's not sure yet. It's not mentioned in I-22, but I-53 would allow them. I don't like that. But sometimes when you're making the sausage, you have to make compromises. Hash oil. There's a homemade ban in Colorado, but you can have up an ounce of it. Washington, I do believe, just changed that so it's allowed. It's unmentioned in I-22, and there'd be an ounce allowed in I-53. This we're going to have to get in front of. This concentrates thing is the new wave. Talk to any marijuana consumer below the age of 30, and it's all about the concentrates. Let's see. Public use is banned in all of them except I-22 would actually allow us to have like pot gardens, like we have a beer garden, like a roped off area with signs and people can use there. I like that. And then stores, 160 of about 500 stores are open in Colorado. Washington will be limited to 334, and we still have yet to see how many that we'll have here in Oregon. All right, so now we get to attack some of the prohibitionist talking points. There are people out there who want you to not be in business. They have no problem with me if I want to smoke pot in my basement. But they don't want another big tobacco. Another predatory industry that will enslave our children into a lifetime of addiction. Right. So the lead guy for this is a guy named Kevin Sabet. He was a former ONDCP staffer, worked in the Obama administration, the Bush administration. I've debated him at the Rice Institute in Texas. And he is the #1 signal caller for the talking points of the people that want to stop marijuana business. So I'm going to give you some of his rhetoric, some of the talking points he uses on TV to try to stop marijuana business, and give you the tools to debunk it. Here we go.
The British Medical Journal told us a few months ago that their most comprehensive study they've ever done showed that marijuana intoxication doubles your car crash risk.
Marijuana intoxication doubles your car crash risk. Well, you know, I have this saying, look it up. So when he mentioned the British Medical Journal study, I looked it up. Here's what it actually said. The study did show a double crash risk within 3 hours of smoking. Not just if you were a marijuana smoker, but if you were actively high. But that same study found that if you were at 0.08 alcohol, you were almost triple the risk. So I'm not saying there's no risk from marijuana and driving, I'm just saying they're blowing it way out of proportion. And in fact, one of the researchers said, quote, although we restricted to drivers with THC in the absence of other drugs or alcohol, so just pot-only drivers, other potentially important confounders were probably not controlled for. Confounder is something that messes up the data. In this case, pot smokers tend to be the same young males that are the worst drivers on the planet. Right? You remember that graph where 18 and younger? Yeah, those are the guys that are also bad drivers anyway. I prefer to look at another study that's actually newer. This came from a study called Drug Use and Fatal Motor Vehicle Crashes, a case control study from the Journal of Accident Analysis and Prevention in 2013. Dr. Guoha Li calculated what the risk was for people that use various drugs, and they based it on a sober driver. So a sober driver is a 1-to-1. That's your baseline. A marijuana driver had a 1.83 to 1 higher risk of a fatal crash. But someone who uses narcotics like Oxy, Vicodin, or Percocet were 3 to 1. Stimulants like Adderall, Ritalin, and Phentermine, 3.5 to 1. Depressants like Valium, Klonopin, and Ativan, 4.8 to 1. Alcohol, 13.6 to 1. How come no one's calling for per se levels of Valium? Nanogram limits for OxyContin. Why are they worried about this one when all of those are out there? That's my point. Again, it's not that it's not a risk, but it's such a low risk that we're blowing it way out of proportion. In fact, another study showed the fatal accident risk of someone on penicillin or antihistamines was 1.92 to 1. Worse than cannabis. And of course, someone with alcohol and drugs in their system, 23 to 1 crash risk. So let's be honest about what the risks are, and let's use the power of legalization to regulate it and to educate people what their limits are. You know, at least with alcohol we have, friends don't let friends drive drunk. Take the keys, be a responsible driver, drive sober, get pulled over. We have tons of messages in our media that say, be responsible. We don't get that for marijuana because the word for marijuana is just say no. Okay, what if I say yes? How should I drive? Well, just say no. Right, but if I say yes, we don't get those messages until now. The Colorado Department of Transportation has just come up with a series of 3 ads that they call Drive High or Get a DUI. Check this out. Well, not there yet. Let me get this other slide first. These are deaths per 100 million miles. United States is blue, Oregon is red. So during the entire time we've had medical marijuana, our roads have been safer than the United States average. But I gotta say, Washington State's kicking our butt. Washington State's been safer than us the whole time, too. So I don't know what we're doing in Oregon, but there was there's a federally funded crackdown on DUIs. It's called Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over, and they do it every year. And they do it between mid-August and Labor Day. So in 2012, I got the numbers for that, and in 2013, I got the numbers for that and compared them. Now, in Washington State, the DUIs dropped the year after they legalized. In Kitsap County, they went from 71 to 49, in King County from 374 to 292. Those are the 2 counties that make up the Seattle metro area, and the crackdown began on the day of the first legal 3-day Seattle Hemp Fest. 150,000 stoners lined up in a park, and the DUIs went down.
Damn right.
Same thing in Colorado. They do the same thing in Colorado. And they actually separate out which one of their DUIs are marijuana versus alcohol. In Washington, it was just all DUIs. Colorado, they found 13 out of the 359 DUIs were for marijuana. In a 2-week period, 13. 1 a day. Now, we actually have some DUID data since Washington State is legalized that we can compare as well. They did have more drivers test THC positive. They used to have about 1,000, it went up to about 1,360 that are THC positive. Well, duh, you legalized pot. More people are using it. That doesn't mean they're impaired. All we're determining is that, hey, when we catch people, more of them are pot smokers. It doesn't tell us that they were actually impaired. And in fact, when we look at the rates, in Washington State they have this 5 nanogram per se limit. So if you're 5 or over, you're busted, right? You're guilty automatically. In 2012, they didn't have that. Before they legalized, they didn't have any limit. But let's pretend they did. In 2012, 61% of the drivers were over the limit. In 2013, 52% were over the limit. Seems like by regulating and setting a limit, people went, oh, I better be below that limit. Now, I hate to have to argue for a limit, but it does seem that more people are under it now that there is a limit that exists. Here's another good news. Those 379 people who were below the limit in 2012 had no defense. These people, these 642 people who were below the limit, can now tell a judge, I was under the legal limit, and get out of their charges, and they have. Now, it's not so much, does use go up, does harm go up? Well, let's look at the harm. In 2012, there were 99,618 crashes in Washington State. In 2013, there were 72 more. 72 more crashes. Pretty statistically insignificant. Fatalities went from 444 to 443. 1 fewer person died after we legalized. 72 more crashes, but 1 fewer death? It's because us stoners only bump into you real slow. But Bob Calkins of the Washington State Patrol said, quote, we are not seeing a change in the declining traffic fatality trend since the legalization of marijuana. That's the cops themselves saying legalizing didn't make the roads more dangerous. Colorado is a little harder to classify because they don't separate their DUIs out as well as Washington does or report on them as often. But their fatalities went down by 10 and their DUIs went down by 397. So it doesn't seem like the roads are getting more dangerous since legalization. Here's some research from our own National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. Quote, there is little, if any, evidence to indicate that drivers who have used marijuana alone are any more likely to cause serious accidents than drug-free drivers. That's our own National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. And then from the UK, they did a review for the UK, and they said the risk of all drug-positive drivers, any drug, the risk of all drug-positive drivers compared to drug-free drivers is similar to drivers with a BAC of 0.05, below the limit. The risk is also similar to drivers above age 60 compared to younger drivers. So a stoned driver, stoned to the bone, is no worse than a driver over the age of 60. Now, if you're a driver over the age of 60, maybe you ought not get stoned to the bone. Here's those commercials I was telling you about. While high is now legal. Driving to get a DUI is not legal. Drive high, get a DUI. Playing ball high is now legal. Driving to see the pros play afterward isn't. Grilling high is now legal. Driving to get the propane you forgot isn't. Now, I've had some people that have said, don't you think that kind of demeans stoners? And I'm like, well, yeah, but it's a commercial. It's got to have some humor to get people's attention. And I'll take drive high, get a DUI any day over light up and you get thrown in prison. I'll take that any day. 10 minutes, gotcha. All right, so the next scare that they're going to use to try to stop the spread of marijuana business is the fear of addicted kids. Because once you start telling parents something bad's going to happen to their kids, all logic flies out the window and it's the mommy and daddy instinct. And so we have to really be sure to be able to get this one.
You know that 1 out of every 6 kids that try marijuana will become addicted to it, okay? That's not 6 out of 6, but that's probably something and plenty to worry about.
Have you heard that stat lately? 1 out of 6 kids that tries marijuana will get addicted. It's one of his big talking points. Let me explain how that works, because addicted means regular marijuana use by an adult. See, 4.4 million teens try pot every year. I don't want them to, but they do. If 4.4 million kids are trying every year and 1 out of 6 of them become addicted, wouldn't we have a whole lot more addicts laying around these days? I actually took a look at the numbers. In the National Survey of Drug Use and Health, they have these variables that let you figure out, 1, has someone ever smoked pot? And 2, what age did they try it? So I said, all right, let's take all the adults and then figure out of those adults who have smoked pot, how many of them tried it before they were age 18? How many people tried pot when they were a kid? Well, that turned out to be 60 million adults who have tried pot before they're age 18. All right, so if 60 million tried it when they're kids and 1 out of 6 become addicted, then that means there must be 10 million marijuana addicts, right? 1 out of 6. To get 10 million pot smokers in America, you have to consider every pot smoker who smokes at least 4 days a month or more. That's an addict. 4 days a month. A weekend pot smoker. Someone who smokes a joint on the weekend, that's how much you have to be one of those 10 million addicts. So when they throw this 1 out of 6 kids try pot become addicts, you say no, 1 out of 6 kids that try pot might become an adult marijuana smoker, but that doesn't mean he's an addict. Another stat. For about the past 30 years, an organization called CASA has asked kids, how easy is it to get pot? Not easy, can't get it, fairly easy, easy. Fairly easy and easy have ranked 80 to 90% for the past 3 decades. 8 to 9 out of 10 kids say it's easy or fairly easy to get pot for the past 30 years of prohibition. So what? Legalization's gonna make it 95? Come on now, we're checking their IDs. It's gonna go down. It can't get any worse than 90%. And when you ask kids, do you know a drug dealer at your school? 44% of kids say, yes, I know a drug dealer at that school. And then they ask those kids, what's on the menu? What can you get from that drug dealer? 91% of the time, the drug dealer has marijuana, 24% prescriptions, 9% cocaine, 6% cigarettes, 1% alcohol, because there's no profit in being a tequila dealer. I say, let's take that 91% away from the teenage dealer and give that business to you. And regulation is how we bring down the use by these kids. This is a graph of alcohol use by 12th graders. Have they ever tried it? Tobacco use by 12th graders. Have they ever tried it? Marijuana use by 12th graders. Have they ever tried it? Now here's 1985 when I graduated high school. 9 out of 10 of my peers had drank. 7 out of 10 of my peers had smoked cigarettes. More than half of my peers had used marijuana. Today, 70%. 39.5% for tobacco is actually lower than marijuana use in this country now. What were the big things that made that happen? Right here, President Reagan strong-armed the states into adopting a 21 drinking age. Right here, in 1998, we had the Master Tobacco Settlement lawsuit that forced them to ID kids for smokes and put the smokes behind the counter. Right here, medical marijuana began. Regulation keeps it out of the hands of kids.
27% of Americans still smoke. 1 out of 4 Americans. over 55% of Americans drink. How many people smoke marijuana? Our household surveys say about 8% of people are regular users. So, something about illegality does drive use down.
His theory here is so many people smoke and drink because it's legal, and so many people don't smoke pot because it's illegal. Well, that doesn't make any sense to me because pot smoking's gone up and down throughout the past 4 decades, regardless of it being illegal. And in fact, there is a new survey from the Rand Corporation. This is from 2000 to 2010. The number in millions of chronic drug users, people that use, again, a weekend user or more, 4 days or more a month. Marijuana went from 11 million users to 16 million users in a decade. Meth, cocaine, and heroin stayed relatively flat. What a lousy gateway drug. Right? We all smoke pot, we're going to become heroin addicts, right? Well, it didn't happen. In fact, the use of marijuana, here is the metric tons, 350 metric tons of cocaine plummeted to 150 metric tons of cocaine as marijuana went from 3,000 to 6,000. Double the marijuana, half the coke.
Yeah.
Final thing, the tax benefits.
For every dollar we get on alcohol and tobacco tax in this country, we spend $10 in lost social costs. So people that look at this know this is actually a loss leader.
Because the tax revenue is so popular with these states, and that's what's selling this a lot, is he's got to try to destroy the idea that we're going to actually make any money. And he's right about alcohol and tobacco. We bring in $40 billion in alcohol and tobacco taxes, but it costs us $400 billion in cirrhosis and lung cancer and absenteeism and early death and all those kind of things. But that's because alcohol and tobacco are toxic and addictive. And cannabis isn't. For Colorado's first month, they made $14 million in gross sales, $2.1 million in taxes. Now, they tried to say, they didn't make as much as they thought they were going to make, but they forgot to mention that there was a limited number of stores open, and they were limiting the purchases to 1/8 a piece, when they could have been selling 1 ounce a piece to the locals and 1/4 ounce a piece to the out-of-staters. So I think they're going to see much more tax revenue. Projected for $184 million in taxes by 2015. And I just have to ask Kevin Sabet, if we made $2.1 million in taxes, and for every dollar we make in taxes, there's $10 in costs, where are the $21 million in costs? We had DUI and fatalities, didn't change. 230 kids got expelled for pot, but that's only 0.04% of the kids. Freshman enrollment at the college, the Colorado University Boulder is up 33%. Flight searches for Denver are up 6%. Marijuana use still stayed at 8%. And in the election, it was 55 for, 45 against. The latest poll in Colorado, 57 for, 35 against. We're winning this battle, folks. Legalization is on the way. And again, I'm Radical Russ. You can get this at 420radio.org. I'll put that slide up for you. There's plenty more. You can download it. There's the links that you need. Thank you.
One more time, Russ Belville, everyone. Russ Belville. Entertainment and informative. Entertainment at its finest.
All right, that was appearance there at the Oregon Medical Marijuana Business Conference in Eugene at the Hilton, and my thanks to Alex Rogers and everybody putting that event on for having me present. Didn't get through the whole thing. There's like 3 great slides I didn't get to, dang it. So we'll tighten that up and hopefully get to present that again. Actually, I will be presenting it again at the High Times Cannabis Cup on 420 in Denver, Colorado. So if you're going to the Cup, you'll get a chance to see it there. All right, we're going to call it a day. Thanks for joining us here. Coming up next, Stony Sundays. And for Ganja Jon, Left Wing Larry, Brian the Red, I'm Radical Russ. Thanks for joining us. And until next time, take care of each other, Tokers.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at radicalruss.com.
Take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes.